Alrighty, folks, this is about carbon today. There we go. That letter C that you should know, right? And you know, I started looking at this and like, where did this word come from? What's the deal with it? It's an old word. Look, Proto-Indo. What does that mean? Proto-Indo-European. It means it comes before Italian, before Spanish, before French. That word has been with us for a long time. And guess what it means? Heat. Fire, right? It makes sense. Carbon burns. And there we go, look. Our ancient ancestors knew about this stuff. You know, they've now got the first fire generation back 400,000 years. Before Homo sapiens. Before Neanderthals. They're getting way back to the Homo erectus kind of people. Way back. Somebody figured out how to burn stuff. And who knows how far that word goes back? It could go back to, who knows, 500,000 years that word's been with us. Now, how do we end up with this? Black stuff all over me. How do we end up with this current anglicized version? Well, it came from this man's head. You see his head? See his head being hung there? Yeah, the word carbon came from his head. Now, he wasn't executed because of the word carbon. No. This is Antoine Lavoisier. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He was a genius. Go back. He was a genius. He had a chemical genius, and he was into obviously French Revolution stuff. He made one mistake. He helped collect taxes for Louis XVI's government. And so when the revolution came, off with his head. Now, he anglicized the word carbon. They didn't kill him for that, but the mob might have killed him for one of the things he did. Mr. Lavoisier burned a diamond. Imagine, you've got a whole bunch of poor folks starving to death, and you hear this guy up on the stage there burned a diamond? Oh, you're not going to be real pleased with him, right? So he burned a diamond as one of his experiments. You can burn diamonds, by the way. So if your house catches fire with your wedding ring in it, diamond wedding ring, forget it. You're not going to see the diamond again. You might find a melted lump of gold, but you won't find the diamond. It's gone. Because carbon does what the name implies. It generates heat and light when you burn it. Carbon plus oxygen. Carbon oxide's heat and light, right? You know what carbon dioxide, carbon kill you? So it depends on how much oxygen you get, whether it heats up the planet or kills you. But so carbon burns. That's what it's known for. That's what we use it for, and that's both our cursing and our blessing. Our curse and our blessing. And carbon comes in a lot of forms too. You may have heard. Okay. Anybody recognize any of these forms of these carbon things? Look at the one B. Look at the one right up in the. Pardon me, window. I'm going to get out of the camera for a bit. B through all those sheets. That's very slippery stuff, isn't it? Graphite. That's like in pencil. Oh. The reason it slips so well is because it's got sheets in it. Diamonds in there, diamond is C, and buckyballs. You've got all these different forms. They keep discovering new ones. And they're pretty cool things. We use a lot of it, but the most common ones you're going to see are, of course, graphite, which this pencil is full of. And you will see diamonds. Now, I'm going to assume that some of you had wonderful mothers who taught you to count. Would you draw a C? You've got paper in front of you. Draw a C in the middle of those little star-shaped pieces of paper, okay? Please draw a C. Draw a C. You're going to learn to count. Well, you already should know how to count, right? Your mama taught you. All good mothers teach people how to count. Okay, you got a C there. Put a C in the middle. Okay. How many C's you got?
One.
Oh, one.
I got one.
How many C's you have?
One. That's what I told him.
How many C's you have? What's with mothers? Come on. When you're counting carbon, come on. Didn't your mama teach you how to count carbon? Okay, your mama must have taught you.
That perfect view.
You know what he just said? Say it again.
Meth, pro, view.
What's meth?
Carbon.
One.
F.
F is 2. Your mama didn't tell. I can't. That's wrong with mothers anyway. So let's say you don't know how to count carbons, eh? Well, let's see. Meth is 1. F is 2. Prop is 3. Bute is 4. Pen, hex, step, on and on and on and on and on, right? So only one person had a proper numeric education when he was young in this room. I don't know how that happened, but congratulations, James. You, if I had a prize or extra points, I would give them to you, okay? No.
He's fine.
So wait. So now you can think. If you see these word roots, you ought to start recognizing them in words you might hear or common terms you might be familiar with. For example, methane, methamphetamine, methanol, methadone, methylation, methylamine, ethane, ethanol, LSD. Wait, LSD? Anybody know what that stands for? Listen, you can figure out how many of something are in it. Lysergic acid diethylamide. Oh, that means it's got something two twos in it somewhere or other. Diethyl ether, put you to sleep. Ethylene glycol, put it in your car, keep your car from freezing. Polyethylene, oh, your favorite plastic. Propane, propanol, isopropyl, alcohol, polypropylene. All these things have little chunks of word in them that refer to numbers. And what are those four, the first 4, James?
Meth, eth, prop, bute.
Yes! He's good. Thank you, James. Appreciate that. Now look at this funky thing down below. 2,2-dimethyl-3-ethyl heptane. Oh my gosh! You know, it's a useless compound except to burn. But can you see the methyls? And can you see the ethyl? Ethyl's a group of 2. And you can see that methyls are groups of 1. And the long chain is hept, 7. Oh, so you just got your first lesson in organic nomenclature. Organic chemistry class today. Wait. Is there snarky comments going on back there? Someone's being snarky back there. Okay, I'll get you later. Anyway, so be aware that when you see some of these word roots, it's talking about the number of carbons in something. And you look up here on my chest. Look, I've got a methyl, and a methyl. This is caffeine, by the way. That's a group of 1, right? A group of 1. So this would be the trimethyl, whatever it is, right? You don't know how many, what it is, but trimethyl. Okay, so we are intimately connected with carbon, both in everything we do, in our nomenclature system. We are so connected. You'll see webs like this drawn all over the place, right? You got greenhouse gases and respiration photos, you name it. Carbon's moving all over the place. We are part of this interdependent web, as the Unitarians like to say, and it's pretty dramatic, all the interdependence we have with carbon. So there it is. We're going to go on much more detail in a bit. Barbara has graciously agreed to play a hymn for us. And please open to 175. We're going to say, we celebrate this web of life. Read through some of these lyrics, I get the tendency to want to change them, right? In the first set of lyrics, it says, we can see divinity in everything, living thing. We can see carbon in every living thing. I don't know about divinity, but certainly carbon is in every living thing. Okay, so I just thought I'd change things. Okay. Anyway, so what I'm going to do now is go into your major, you as human consumers, connect to carbon. And then we're going to eventually get to global warming and that kind of stuff. Okay? So the main connection you all are familiar with, or maybe filled up your gas tank this morning, is this stuff. Petroleum products. Now, let's look at petroleum. Petro means petrified. I'm turned to stone, right? So oleum is oil. Petro is stone. Literally, it means stone oil, and that's exactly where they get it. And it's nasty, black, kind of unpleasant stuff. It stinks, and etc. It's a mixture. It is black because it's got a lot of carbon in it, right? And it's just filled with hundreds of different carbon-containing things. It's the remains of jungles and dinosaurs and living things from way, way back They call that period of time the Carboniferous for a reason, right? Full of carbon. And you see this stuff every day at the gas pump. Okay, James, you see a number in that? Don't say 87, 88, 89, 90. See the word that means the number? See, it says octane. So now you know something about what you're putting in your gas tank. Whatever it is has 8 carbons in it, right? That's what that oct means. So octane, this has to do with anti-knocking. You know, if your engine knocks, they don't want to put in low octane. If you got a race car, buy the 91. If you got a regular car, buy the 87, okay? But where does all this stuff come from? Well, it comes from, all these refined products come from crude oil. Things like wax, oil, diesel fuel, kerosene, all that stuff comes from that black goo. Nasty stuff. Now, you have seen these things before, yes? Seen one of those?
Yeah.
You drive toward Marietta along the river. Ooh, boy, you'll see a lot of them. You drive toward Ashland, Kentucky. You will see a lot of this. Is a distillation tower where they take this black goo and start heating it up. And what comes off first? All the little stuff. Goes up and up, and they collect it over here, and then the next layer comes off, and the next layer, the next layer. Eventually, you get all these wide range of mixtures. Things like, at the very bottom you get tar, at the top you get natural gas, you get jet fuel, kerosene. All these things come out of these towers depending on when they boil. So you know what Ukraine's doing right now? Sending drones. What are they trying to hit? These towers. They'd love to hit these towers because if you screw that up, you screw up the entire petrol-based product system that's coming out of those oil refineries that Russia has. So these are even prime targets for, warfare. So, okay, so we get all this stuff out of this black goo and stuff we depend on because we are such good consumers. Now I'm going to show you a graph, don't yawn. Okay, see the numbers? Meth, eth, prop, bute, pent, hex, hept, oct, non, dec, dodec, right? Undec, dodec, trisdec, right? Those are the number of carbons. And so what happens is the number of carbons goes up, the thing gets more and more solid. So if I ask you to show me some butane, where would you do that? How would you do that? A lighter. You could see it pressure in that lighter. See that little liquid in the lighter, right? But if I ask you to show me some propane or methane, you probably can't do it, right? It's a gas. So the bigger something is, the more likely it is to be a solid at this temperature or melted a certain temperature. So as length of carbons go up, so does the boiling points, and so do these melting points. Okay, now what's that? Come on. Isn't that a cool picture? Cool pictures, excuse me. This is that Saturnian moon, Titan. And you know what they found on this moon? They found oceans. But wait a minute, it's minus 182 degrees centigrade, and they found oceans. It ain't water. What is this stuff? Well, at minus 182, the only things it can be are methane, ethane, maybe a little bit. These are hydrocarbon oceans. These are like, you could go sailing on liquid methane if you wanted to on this planet. And NASA, by the way, just contracted to send a helicopter drone all the way to Titan to fly over these pools of hydrocarbon that are sitting on this moon. That's due to launch in 2029 or something like that. And then it'll land, I don't know how many years later, and you'll get to watch it. You'll get to see this helicopter drone flying through this mist of methane over these lakes, hydrocarbon lakes. Okay, that reminds me of this. You know what that is, right?
Tar.
That's a museum dedicated to tar pits in Los Angeles. And you see there's a lake of methane, not methane, but a lake of ooey gooey hydrocarbon that caught a lot of poor creatures way back when, and they found some of them in the bottom of it. Those are not real mastodons, by the way, or whatever. They're obviously statues. Okay? Now, let's get local with this stuff. You know you live in an oil-producing region, on the periphery, right? And one thing that happened just 2 days ago is this. Victory, ODNR, environmental activists, local injection well case. They shut down the darn injection wells over in Torch because, now, you might think it was a good thing that, I'm glad they are concerned about the water wells, but that's really probably wasn't why they did it. As you inject this waste in one hole, it comes up in oil wells a mile away, which means the oil wells are no longer producing, which means the oil producers are getting mad at the oil injectors because it's going around and around and around in circles. So it's virtuous that they consider people's water supply, but I think more they were considering people's petro income, right? So anyway, if you've been on toward Marietta, you'll see the torch placed by that rest area. That's the injection site that was just closed down, and of course they're going to take it to court and try to keep it open, etc. But actually, I was at this particular meeting that they're describing here. Okay, so you're most familiar with oil, but you're probably also familiar with coal, right? Okay, so coal, there we go. Look at it all, see it? All those black spots, that's where it all is. And look, we are right smack dab in the middle of it. As is Eastern Kentucky and Western Kentucky. West Virginia is almost gone under the black. And you see that little bit of orange up in, reddish orange up in Pennsylvania? That little streak? That's the anthracite coal. That's good stuff. That's metamorphic coal that's been squashed, and they drove out a lot of the rubbish, and it's really good stuff, but it's real rare too. So there's all the coal, and we have a long, painful history with coal in this area. You probably know about this one, the Millfield mine disaster back in the 1930s. If you read this, it's interesting because the executives of this company died in the explosion as well. They were doing a safety inspection when the thing blew up. Wow. I've never been, anybody been to this? You been there? Is this all that's there anymore?
Yeah, there.
Just the sign?
Just the sign. There's a chimney.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a really big tall.
Oh, they still have the tipple or whatever the tower is? Oh, wow, I've not been there. But anyway, this disaster caused some better mine safety laws to be made in Ohio. So if there's anything good that came out of it, at least there's some legislation we hope to protect it, keep it from happening again. But there's still all sorts of issues with coal in this area, and you probably know this one. Who is that guy? Come on. Larry Householder, who is now in prison for 20 years. Now, this guy, he was the Speaker of the House of Representatives in Ohio, and he took 60 million, like big bucks, 60 million worth of bribes from First Energy to keep this coal plant open down along the highway and other coal plants and to bail out a couple of nuclear plants, right? I forget all the places the money went, but that is one of those things that coal still has influence, coal still has effects. Money happens to be one of them. And Mr. Householder probably regrets he ever heard about coal. That's this Kiger Creek, by the way, if you ever drive by there. It's down toward Pomeroy, is it? Down that way?
Cheshire.
Okay, plastic.
That's the one that he was trying to keep open at Kiger Creek.
Oh, okay, we're going to do plastic. You're going to make plastic today. See that? Enormous piles of plastic everywhere you look, right? So we're going to make it right now. Well, first we've got to do something else. You see these numbers? This has see this thing? See that right there? It's got a number on it. It's got a number 5. Right there. Okay, what does the 5 mean? Polyprop. Oh, what is prop? Come on, girl. No! You forgot how to count. Prop is 3. Yes. So polyprop means many 3. Whole bunch of 3. A 3 attached to a 3 attached to a 3 attached to a 3. That's a polyprop. So you got to have a bunch of 3s and attach them together. Polypropylene. Huh. Well, there's polyethylene, What's HDPE? High density polyethylene. Poly-F. 2. Cool. So you are learning to count. It took a while. Okay. We're gonna make plastic now. Ready to make plastic? Would you take a carbon that you made, make it a second carbon, and would you attach them together, please? You have tape on that cup. You need at least 2 carbons, and then your neighbor should have 2 carbons, and you are going to make something. Okay, she's got 2 carbons. Look, Wendy knows how to make ethane, right? This is a gas, though. It floats away, and maybe you have to freeze it on tight to get it to turn to liquid. This is ethane. But wait a minute. We don't want an F. We want for plastic, we want a poly F. So would you attach this gentleman here? Come on, attach them all together. Your neighbor, you can make a poly F right here now by taping them together. Oh, you made a cyclobutane. Oh my gosh. Okay, that's fine. It's a cyclobutane.
Gotta be careful, we don't want to create another East Palestine. This polarization gets out of control.
Yes, if polymerization can get out of control, can it? You may have heard that word polymer, right? No. Poly means many. Poly means many, mer means part. So if it's a polymer, it has many parts. So this is one of the parts. I'm going to call that a monomer. Now this is a dimer. And now, oh my gosh, this is a tetra. So if I keep attaching these 2 things together, I will end up with plastic. And which plastic would this be? It's got a lot of 2's, so it's polyethylene. Oh, cool. So I can make huge carbon chains and make plastic stuff. Like this chair. It's a big carbon chain. I don't know how many carbons were in the original monomer, but the names of the plastics reflect the monomers from which they are made.
What happens when we burn it?
Pardon me?
What happens when we burn it?
Oh, what do you get when you burn carbon?
Heat and light.
Carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, soot, which is unburned carbon. And if it's just pure carbon and hydrogen, like in plastics, you don't get any really nasty stuff. But if you start burning polyvinyl chloride, which has chlorines attached, then you start getting much more toxic kinds of gases. But you notice if you burn plastic, not only does it stink, but it's black soot coming out of it. You don't want to burn it. You don't want to burn that stuff. But it does make carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and various other carbon containers. Who's tetramer for this? Can you give me your cyclobutane? See what she did? She made a ring. That's cyclobutane, because you got 4 in a ring. What can you do with that stuff? You can burn it. You can burn that stuff. I don't know why you'd want to, but you could burn it, okay? Okay, there you go. Polyethylene, polypropylene. They're all just big long chains. And what Patrick pointed out, one issue is burning it. What's another issue with this stuff? We can't eat it. Nothing can eat it. So if I chew this plastic, I won't do that, but if I did chew it, right? I've got these really, really long chains, and what do I not have? I don't have the little enzymes to chop it up. So nothing can eat this stuff. So it sits around for hundreds of years while the sunlight slowly pops it apart. Yeah, Patrick, what?
What about microplastics that they're saying is in the food and the water now? We don't eat it, but we absorb it.
We absorb it, and that's a big question. What does it do to you now that you've got who knows how many grams in you? Because every time you brush your teeth with a plastic toothbrush, ooh. Oh, I'm sorry. You got all the hog bristle brushes or something. I don't know what you do. But just think, I mean, you're right. We have plastic in us. Fortunately, it is somewhat inert, right? But I don't like things kind of plugging me up that I have no idea what they're going to do, right? Okay, so plastic. So you have interactions with plastic. Petroleum, coal, plastic. Now what about this one? Limestone. Limestone and concrete, another place where carbon becomes important. You might not think it is, but here we go. See this chunk? It's a piece of limestone. Oh, it's pretty cool looking limestone. What's in this stuff?
Calcium carbonate.
Carbonate. Cool. So that means it's got carbon in it. And where did it come from? Little teeny critters. Once upon a time, in an ocean, made their shells. They died, and they leave the great deposit of this. And we're awash with this stuff, aren't we? Every time you drive up and down 33, you'll see limestone. Well, what's that got to do with carbon anyway? Carbon's locked up in it, right? You might think of it as a carbon reserve, but what do we do with this stuff? We make concrete. So first we dig it up, right? And then we torch it at incredibly high temperatures. And what happens to the carbonates when you do this? They break down and let go carbon dioxide. Up it goes. And we make the stone again, kind of, don't we? We destroy it, we drive out the carbon, and then we put it with some sand and call it concrete, right? So there's a huge amount of carbon dioxide generated by the limestone kilns. They take this stuff, they dump it in, they torch it, and they get these little clinkers at the bottom, and they grind them up, and that's how you make concrete again for your homes, for the roads. It's all from limestone that you get from heating up calcium carbonate. See, well, I know it's a chemical formula there. See that? Calcium carbonate, heat, and calcium oxide, carbon dioxide. So one of the big researches going on right now in the world to slow global warming is how to make better concrete. Because there's a huge amount of the stuff made. I know I lived in China for a while. Looking out from our balcony, we saw, 100 cranes at once? Over 100. All building 15-floor buildings out of concrete. Wow.
Yes.
It was wow. Look at this. Everywhere you look, there's buildings full of concrete. And where are they getting it all? From big limestone mines that crush and heat up, and up goes the carbon dioxide. So that's another big connection you have to carbon, especially carbon dioxide. Now you happen to be a consumer, right? And I can think about it as, I'm a consumer, I'll go to the grocery store. Or I can think of it ecologically, I'm a consumer. Because I am an ecologic consumer, I have to kill to eat. Right? You kill a plant, eat some broccoli, so much for that. Eat a hamburger. So we do not produce our own food. It'd be kind of nice if we did. So, but we are consumers, and so you've seen them, maybe see this in your biology book way back when. Plants are the green ones, obviously. They make all the food, and we burn it up. We use it. Plants burn it too, but they also make. They make, burn. We only burn. So the reason Wenda is so warm, I could put my, I could feel heat. What are you burning? Carbon. You're like that fire from the cavemen, right? All this carbon you're burning, and what are you breathing out? Carbon dioxide. I hope it's not carbon monoxide. Carbon dioxide. So we are consumers in the ecologic sense. We go making carbon dioxide, burning up all the food that the plants make. One curious note, you see that little green thing called a chloroplast? Another thing below called a mitochondria? See those two things? You know they each have their own DNA? Isn't that weird? Why would a tiny cell part have its own DNA? Because way back when, this chloroplast was a living thing, separate. Way back when, this mitochondria was a living thing, separate. And way back in, a billion years ago, one of these moved inside of something else. And it's since kind of lost some of its living ability, but it still has a DNA. These are what's the word? Everybody know that word? Endosymbionts. They once upon a time moved into something else. So we got critters living in us right now. All our intestines are full of them. But these were critters, independent critters once upon a time, and they're not anymore. And what do we really lust after? What do we consumers want? can't make this stuff. It'd be great if we could. We got to torture plants, raise sugar cane, sugar beets, whatever it is. We got to do it to make glucose is the top one, C6H12O6, and sucrose is the next one, C12H22O11. Okay. So here we go. Global warming. Let's do that now. All right. Another graph. Sorry. As the Industrial Revolution took off back in England, 1840s or so, what fueled English Industrial Revolution? Coal. They dug up central and north England. What Newcastle, that's one place that was personally known for it. And what do they do with it? They burned it all. And but only after they cut down most of the trees, right? So you have to dig deeper and deeper to get the coal. And that sort of said, yes, James Watt and the steam engine, all these things that require coal. Industrialization required huge amounts of coal. Huge amounts of coal will burn, carbon dioxide start going up, and temperatures start going up, and atmospheric parts per million start going up. Okay. Who invented the rainbow? Come on, somebody must know.
Carbon.
There was such hope for you a minute ago. Come on, who invented the rainbow?
The Irish people.
No! This is a pot of gold? No. Come on, you know this.
No.
You know who invented the rainbow.
Newton.
Now, when your daddy didn't teach you this? What? Come on. Okay, I will tell you who invented the rainbow, but you better remember this. Okay? Who invented it? Roy G. Biv. Okay? So that is who invented the rainbow. Roy G. Biv. Just remember that. Roy G. Biv. Right? Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. So why did I put this up there as we start going into the global warming spiel? Well, you know these colors, Mr. Roy G. Biv's invention, by our eyes. This is the visible part of what you can see that moves at the speed of light. However, that's not most of it. Most of it we can't even see. You know, you got radio waves, you got X-rays, you got microwaves, you got, gamma radiation. Stay away from that. The visible stuff's right in the middle. What is below the red? Think. Don't look. Think. Below the red. Infrared. What is above the violet? Ultraviolet. Cool. What's more dangerous? Ultraviolet. And you go further up, you get X-rays and gamma. So, what's the deal with this? We have all these things that move at the speed of light. And it just so happens that the sun, our beautiful star in the sky right now, emits them all. We get all this stuff from the sun. If you stay outside, you'll get cooked, right? You can see, you can get radiation burns, you name it. Now, something is blocked, some stuff is blocked by the atmosphere, and that's good. Otherwise, we would probably all have cancer all the time. That was the big thing about ozone depletion years ago, is that it would, without the ozone, we'd all get cancer because gamma radiation doses would increase dramatically in this world. So, what's the deal? So the sun emits all this stuff, hits the earth, and then what happens? A lot of it bounces back. It bounces back, and it bounces back because we're cold compared to the sun. We're called a cold body. And it turns out that, look at the CO2 in the second line down. Carbon dioxide absorbs a whole lot of infrared, doesn't it? See that? Look at it. Carbon dioxide absorbs it, which means it gets hotter. It wiggles around more. So we got this wonderful blanket of carbon dioxide keeping us warm. The amount of that's going up, 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 up. And the sun's not going to stop. So the planet's getting warmer. Because absorption of infrared, that's below the red from Mr. Roy G. Biv's business. Almost time up. Okay, I got to go with it. Oh, here we go. Back one. Wait, look at that one. Look at that. Now, global warming isn't Al Gore's thing. I knew about this years ago. Read this, a wonderful quote. We often hear lamentations that the coal stored up in the earth is wasted by the present generation without any thought of the future, and we are terrified by that awful destruction of life. We may find a kind of consolation in the consideration that here, as in every other case, there's good mixed with evil. By influence of the increasing percentage of carbonic acid in the atmosphere, we may hope to enjoy ages of more equitable and better climates, especially as regards the colder regions of the earth, ages when the earth will bring forth much more abundant crop than at present for the benefit of the rapidly propagating mankind.
1908.
This guy was Swedish, so you can see why he wanted a warmer planet, right? He won the Nobel Prize. His name was Arrhenius. There he is. So it's interesting that he knew, chemists have known since the turn of the 19th century, the 20th century, that this was going to happen. It's not Al Gore's thing. But some people thought, oh, it's probably a good thing, right? It's a good thing it's going to warm up. Now, we have, of course, our seventh principle. And as I mentioned earlier, I like to change the words on these things. Sorry, Barb, don't get mad at me, Barb. Okay. All right. So I'm going to change the word of the seventh principle. This is respect for the interdependent web of all existence from which we are a part. I'm going to make my own version of it. Here we go. Respect for the earth and all its systems upon which we completely depend. Note, the interdependent stuff bugs me because not much depends on us except each other. But we certainly depend completely on other stuff. So, and I made up my own version of this. Don't take offense. Nobody's going to adopt it, right? It's not going to get anywhere at the General Assembly. But I've got one quote from Mr. Reverend William Sinkford, who was the former UA president way back when. There it is. Earth is our home. We are part of this world, and its destiny is our own. Life on this planet will be gravely affected unless we embrace new practices, ethics, and values to guide our lives on a warming planet. As you use, we declare by this statement of conscience that we will not acquiesce to the ongoing degradation and destruction of life that human actions are leaving to our children and grandchildren. We, as you use, are called to join with others to halt practices that fuel global warming, climate change, to instigate sustainable alternatives, and to mitigate impending effects of global warming, climate change with just and ethical responses. As a people of faith, we commit our renewed reverence of life and respect for the interdependent web of all existence. He said this at 2007, I think, at a conference in Oregon or Washington State, something like that. Okay, there you go. Now I am going to extinguish this chalice, all right? And you can talk.